Navy SEAL he had once worked with in Afghanistan and others.
아, 안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천을 하려고 하는 동탄 왕콩입니다. 너무 졸린데 왜 요즘에 이렇게 졸리죠? 제가 영상을 매일 안 찍지만 운동을 하고 있긴 합니다. 어제도 팔굽혀펴기를 했어요. 밤에도 하고 아침에도 하고. 오늘은 영상을 찍으려고 합니다. 오랜만에 해가 떴어요. 오랜만에. 지금 한 몇 주일 동안 2주 정도는 계속 비가 왔던 것 같은데, 흐렸던 것 같은데 해가 떴어요, 여러분. 일단 스트레칭 하고 팔굽혀펴기 하도록 하겠습니다. 역시 운동을 할 땐 CNN이죠. 코로나는 계속 지속되고 있고 1차 백신 접종 맞았고 16일에 저는 2차를 맞습니다. 언제까지 코로나 계속됐지? 지금 영화보도 가야 되는데 할 일이 세상 같습니다. 일단 역시 CNN이죠.
Messages, they keep calling me, and they keep asking for help.
How many people who helped the United States that you know and who are still in Afghanistan, how many of them have heard from the State Department about being helped to get out?
We were around 700 people in one group. We had a Telegram group named Alba Afghan Left Behind the Station. So just I got out, just I made it. The other ones, they're still left behind.
Have they heard from the United States government in the last few days?
No, they didn't. That's their concern. They're like keep telling me like they haven't received anything from the U.S. Department of State. So yeah,
do any
they
of them
keep
have
calling.
the SIVs? Rashid, do any of them have the SIV visas, or are they people who applied for them at least?
They all applied for SIVs, but they didn't get any answer from the U.S. Embassy or the U.S. Department of State.
What is your concern about what's going to happen to them before too long?
Yeah, I want like the Department of State. I want all the American officials here to like do something for them. Get them out of Afghanistan. They're in danger. They're all in danger. So once the Taliban they like took place like in Kabul, they will go after them. They will find them and they will kill them. They already killed. So I want them to be out of Afghanistan as soon as possible.
So the hard part was getting out of Kabul for you. Now you're here with some of your family. Now there's the new hard part. What will life be for you here?
So I was so lucky to meet it, with some awesome people with the help of CNN. But here I will try to do my best to take care of my kids, take care of my family. So I will make it somehow.
What are you going to do for a job? What are you thinking?
Today we had some process going on where I am located right now. So they asked me like where I want to move. I told them like it's either California or Dallas, Texas. So yeah, I will be going there, getting some security job or like over staff or a truck driver. Yeah.
Are you getting help? Are you getting support here? Who's helping?
So most of the people that I have here, like most of my friends, they're willing to help me, and most of the SEALs, that I worked with them back in Afghanistan, they're all willing to help me.
So it's not the government officials so much as it is the guys that you work for and know who are in the United States.
We're just getting like this room is given by the government, and we're just like they're giving us food, drinks, some stuff here, but nothing else,
Well, listen. Go ahead, Rashid.
Sorry.
Make your point, please.
Yeah, the other help are coming from the non-governmental people, like the SEALs and other people.
Well, Rashid, I know that you're still trying to get your brother out, that you're worried about him, that he'll be targeted by the Taliban. And I know you have a life to make for you and your family here. And I'm really excited about hearing about your adventure. And I hope a lot of beautiful things happen for you and your family. Rashid Shahzad, thank you very much for helping America, and I'm glad they helped you back.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
God bless and be well. We'll be right back.
Okay.
아,
Across Africa, businesses are working together like never before. All new on CNN, Connecting Africa.
Join me and Lenny Jokas as we crisscross the continent to show you how new connections are revolutionizing commerce in Africa. This year, Connecting Africa through aviation.
Air transport is the key to unlock the economic potential of this vast continent.
Saturday on CNN, in association with Afreximbank.
와, 10개밖에 안 했는데, 와, 뒤질 것 같네? 뭐야, 뭐지?
CNN Films presents 9/11, Monday on CNN.
We live in such a fast-paced world where the news has been so relentless. Historic events have happened one after the other. I think that you need that daily appointment with viewers around the world to try and sort through the news of the day. What's important? Why does it matter to me? How do I put it all in context? We follow the news as it happens and where it happens. And then we also take a step back to walk the viewer through the day's news. That is the mission of Hala Garani tonight.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
I'm Delia Gallagher in Rome, and this is CNN.
You know, this really is unlike anything we've ever seen before. Not this exit from Afghanistan, it is unique. And that evacuation was unlike anything we've ever seen. Now, why it had to happen, that's a debate to have. But this crisis, and all these veterans helping on their own, amazing. Don Lemon tonight with the big star D Lemon right now.
This is awful. We've been through worse with bigger losses of life, but this is the one that we're in now. So I think that we'll get through it. The sad part for me, obviously, the folks who are still there, a Herculean task though, getting all those people out, 120,000 people in a week. Look, I think that part is a success. But the loss of life from the American service members, I think that is the saddest part for everyone, no doubt. And
Absolutely. But I
families,
think that the continuing concern, you left the majority of people you promised to help, who helped you, behind. And you know that it was a real promise, Don, because these veterans, all these allies, this hashtag Digital Dunkirk, these organizations that we're having on the show, they don't have to do this. If the loyalty weren't so deep, I mean, this Sarah that we're following, she's a metaphor for so many. She's an American, and she decided to stay there to help others who deserve to leave, and she got left behind. Now they're trying to get her out, and the question is the United States government going to step up and help them, or are they actually going to make it harder for these veterans to get people out?
Well, listen, I understand the emotion around it, but let's be a little bit unemotional here, if we can. Wars are terrible. This is our longest war. I think in any situation, whether you agree with the exit or not, you're not going to get all of the people out that you want in the time period. I think that is asking for something you can't accomplish that. It's just not going to happen in any situation. Now, I think you're right. It's getting the people out to see how many more people they can get out. Yeah, Americans should step up. These organizations should be stepping up. They don't have to, but that's what we do as Americans. I think that we should be a little bit more level-headed about this. We got out of a war. Many people didn't agree with the way that it ended. Okay, so how do we move forward from here? I think you have to also look at the number of people they got out. And I think obviously the administration, the Trump administration for brokering these deals with the Taliban, and the Biden administration for however you feel about it, got out. But I think you have to give them some credit for what, number one, getting out, and number two, getting as many people out as possible. And we do have to remember, there are people who went there and were told they needed to leave and they didn't leave. We should still help them get out, continue to help them get out. But I think people should stop beating up on the administration so much, because no matter how it ended, everyone wasn't going to be happy with the way it ended. So if there's any silver lining in this, it's going to be what happens going forward. You can't change the past. You can't bring those lives back, as awful as that is. And so, I just think that sometimes, I think the administration is getting beaten up on this a little bit too much, because there's a lot of blame to go around from 4 different presidents, and who actually didn't have the guts to get us out of Afghanistan because they were afraid of this moment and what an exit might look like.
Well, they also knew that we needed to be there. 20 years without another 9/11.
Did we need to be there?
20 years without another 9/11.
But did we need to be there?
Do you think that being in Afghanistan and in that region the way we are had nothing to do with why there wasn't another attack?
I don't know. I don't know that, but I don't know if we needed to be there
Why do you
for
think
20
the
years.
military was saying that we needed to
Chris,
stay?
If we were there for 20 years, and
Yeah,
the
we didn't have
government,
another
and the
9/11
government
for 20 years.
collapsed that quickly, what did we really accomplish?
Well, you negotiated with the guys who wanted to undercut the government. That's what Trump did. That was the problem with that, is that of course it was going to undermine the Ghani government. You have to understand something about fighting men and women. There is this illusion that fighting men and women fight for the flag, fight for the country, and they fight for the high principles and ideals. They fight for one another. That's what the men and women on the battlefield often put first, in terms of who they want to protect and who's going to protect them. The people who they're with. And when they leave, and those Afghan warriors, and a lot of them are very well trained, the commandos, very good. But when they lost their American brothers and sisters, a lot of them lost the reason to be fighting. And when the Taliban was negotiating with the United States, the Ghani government was extremely undercut. So it was inevitable. I do agree with you, though. Looking back is a mistake right now because of the current crisis. I don't care how the Biden administration feels about criticism, but they need to have a plan
That's not what I'm saying
and
at
an
all. I
urgency
don't
to
either.
get people out. And I didn't hear it today from the State Department.
It's our
Maybe
job.
you
Well, that's a whole different thing.
That's
it's
the
our
whole
job.
thing.
It's our job to be critical. I think there are separate things here. We're talking about everything doesn't have to all be lumped in one basket.
Agreed.
You can see, getting all those people out was a success. You can see that, and I do believe that there's going to have to be accountability. We're going to have to find out exactly
I
what
just
happened
want
and
a
what went
plan
wrong.
and an urgency to get the people out
I
there
think,
now that you promised.
I think it's it's TBD, to be determined. We're still seeing.
I know,
what's
I'm just saying what
happening.
I
You
saw
can't get them out
today.
there. You can't get them all out in 5 minutes. You can't get them all out yesterday. So what happens going forward, if we continue with this effort to get them out, and we start getting them out, as many out as possible, then I think that we should stop all, running around like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we left so
I
many
know, but
people
here's the
behind.
one
We don't
thing
know
that
if we
you're
left them
forgetting.
behind yet. We
I
don't
hear
know
you,
yet.
but Don, it's easy to be level-headed when nobody's chasing you with a machete.
Yeah, I understand that.
On the ground in Afghanistan, it's a different reality for these people. They're going to be hunted.
Yeah.
I've seen it. This is what they do.
That's
And
the awful
so you
part
don't
of
have a
war.
lot of time. And there has to be an urgency commensurate with the need. But I hear you, brother.
That is the
You're right.
awful part of war, and that's what, and that they have been dealing with that in this iteration for the last 4 administrations. There has been death there of American soldiers. There have been unnecessary deaths there going on for
There have been.
decades and decades. So I think we just can't look at this in a vacuum. We have to
Absolutely
look at the
not.
much
But I'm saying that,
bigger
remember,
picture.
before we left, you could go wherever you wanted to in Afghanistan. It's not where you and I would want to go for spring break necessarily. But right now, it's in the hands of a bunch of barbaric butchers. And anybody who's there is going to be meat for them.
Was it not though, when you consider how quickly it collapsed? Was it
Well,
was
it
it all
collapsed
just?
because we said we're leaving.
Was it all just?
And the Afghans
Pretense.
weren't fighting with the best fighters in the world anymore.
Yeah.
I
But
think
those
that-
guys were
I
still
think it's a
alive.
continuum, you know?
Those guys were still alive. They were still very viable. They were just waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity.
That's
I got
the
to
whole
run.
point. And
I
we
got
gave
the
it
breaking
to them.
news. Be careful when you go out, though. The weather is
There's
really
a tornado
terrible.
warning.
Tornado
I love
warning.
you, Don Lemon,
I
in
love
case I
too,
don't see you
brother.
again.
I'll see you soon. This is Don Lemon tonight. So he ended America's longest war after 20 years. Now President Joe Biden is trying to focus on one crisis after another right here at home, from the devastating aftermath of Hurricane Ida, still dealing with that, to the raging COVID pandemic. But there are questions that remain on Afghanistan. That's Chris and I were just talking about it, trying to hash it out now, right? Make sense of it. It's tough. The State Department saying that of the 124,000 evacuees from Afghanistan, more than 23,000 are at-risk Afghans, including special immigrant visa applications. But a senior State Department official saying that the majority of Afghans who worked for the United States and applied for visas were likely left behind. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs says he feels pain and anger over Afghanistan.
Last night I visited the wounded up in Walter Reed. This is tough stuff. War is hard. It's vicious, it's brutal, it's unforgiving. And yes, we all have pain and anger. And when we see what has unfolded over the last 20 years and over the last 20 days, that creates pain and anger. And mine comes from 242 of my soldiers killed in action over 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan.
There he is. He hit it on the head. Listen, there should be accountability, but war is tough stuff. And anyone who says, well, my plan, I had this plan, you don't know. You really don't know. We'll find out over time what exactly happened. We are learning tonight that here at home, U.S. officials are grappling with the threat of domestic violent extremism, as white supremacists and anti-government extremists are praising what they say the Taliban accomplished and calling it a model for the civil war that they want to see right here in this country. That is according to the Homeland Security call that the State Department and local law enforcement obtained by CNN. And in the midst of all of that, the president is dealing with one major crisis after another, like raging COVID crisis. The United States is now averaging 160,455 new COVID-19 cases every day, including controversial podcast host Joe Rogan, saying that he tested positive for COVID and that he says he is taking several medications, including a drug meant for deworming livestock.
Turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything.
No one is happy or gloating over the fact, at least not here, that Joe Rogan tested positive for COVID, okay? And we do hope that he is okay. But Joe Rogan has been dismissive of vaccines, and he's gotten all that stuff right. That had just emergency authorization, not approved by the FDA, no vaccine. Telling millions of listeners that if a 21-year-old asked him if he should get vaccinated, he would suggest that they don't. He later clarified that he's not an anti-vax person, though it is unclear whether he had been vaccinated himself. We're going to have more on all of this a little bit later on, because you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility when you have a platform as big as Joe Rogan's. Another crisis facing the president, the desperate aftermath of Hurricane Ida in my home state of Louisiana. Still, no power, no gas, no food for hundreds of thousands of people in what I can tell you will be sweltering temperatures even at night. And it could take weeks to restore power. Half the gas stations in New Orleans and Baton